So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Stewart. He caught it. He stole it. First down. Oh, yes. The big man. Guys down at the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
We're calling things out. There's a big hit right away. And boom!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser.
It is home opener eve, and we're jumping in tonight live to bring you guys the pregame show. Detroit Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks tomorrow. We're getting feedback. I apologize, everybody. We're having a lot of technical difficulties tonight. Let me know if you guys are hearing me, because I've got to mute this other camera here. All right, so we're back. We're live tonight with the pregame show for the Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions. September 17th, big showdown at 1 p.m. at Ford Field. And we're excited. We're going to be there. We're going to be there at 7 a.m. We're going to be getting tailgate action on and getting everybody's take and traditions, to how long they've been coming to the Detroit Lions, football games and what their tailgate traditions are. We're going to start our day off at the Den Tailgates, and you guys should go there and visit it. There's tickets that are going to be available at the door. There's going to be a full bar, full buffet, and it's going to be an incredible time. Like I said, it starts at 8:30 in the morning, and it goes to about 12:30. Most of us will be heading over to the stadium by that point. So give it a shot. Come visit us. Come say hi and get your tradition put on camera. Go live with us, and let's have a fun day. It's going to be an epic day. There's going to be a lot of masked marauders running around Detroit, and it's going to be an interesting sight to behold. But we're excited to get there and actually partake. And I couldn't get Andy on the show today. I don't know what happened to him. We had a lot of difficulty earlier, and he just decided to take off, and he wasn't going to do the show. So said something about catching a plane, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I turned the plane around. You can't just do this by yourself.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good to finally meet you.
All right. So Andy and Will finally together. Andy lives in Arizona, and we've been doing this show now since March. And we finally got a chance to meet, greet, and get the show live, together for the first time. So I apologize. It's way out of sorts. We're not really fully prepared for it. It's different view, different setup. So we're going to do the best we can tonight. But you weren't at the post-game show for KC.
I wasn't.
So I'd like to get your take on last week's game and how it went for the Lions at KC and what you were thinking, man. What was going through your head?
Well, I heard it from a lot of people, the typical jargon that Lions didn't have a chance and, everything KC was going to kill them. And I can tell you right now, Will, I told a lot of people, so the Lions got this. I don't care how it happens. The Lions got this game. It was a great game. It was a statement game for us, for our team, for the city of Detroit. It was absolutely outer-worldly. I hadn't been that excited for a long time. Just some points I wanted to make of that game that I think are pretty important. You got to talk about Goff. Goff played a very safe and smart game, throwing for 253, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions. The offensive line played okay, but at times looked a little shaky and allowing unnecessary pressure on Goff. The fumble from Marvin Jones, the bad snap where Goff almost lost the ball were real heart stoppers. But overall, it was the first game of the year, so that should be all cleaned up by tomorrow. I really believe it will be. Taylor Decker, he's hurt. He was playing through the injury the whole game. Very commendable. A lot of grit. Unfortunately, it's led to him not being available now for tomorrow's game, and that's a key part of the O-line missing against Seattle. Nelson's going to have to step up his game filling in for him. Defense, for me, was by far the best part of the game. Lots of pressure against Mahomes, keeping him on his back, causing him to scramble a lot. We all know Hutchinson got him for rushing him 7 times. Of course, for me and for a lot of people, Brian Branch's 50-yard pick-six touchdown was the highlight of that game. It was a beautiful time play, the way he just happened to be there, right place, right time. We won this game, Will. That was a statement game for the Lions to show the type. The hype is real, and we mean business. The asterisk comments that have been made is irrelevant and very insulting to what happened on the field. We outplayed them fair and square, and I truly believe we would have won the game even if Kelsey and Chris Jones were actually in the game. And finally, this one's been bugging me, so I'm going to rant for a second. I heard a lot of people saying that if Kansas City hadn't dropped those 9 passes, they would have won the game. You know what? They did drop the passes. And if they're good, they'll win the game anyway. You win the game no matter what the situation is. And that's what we did. So one pride, one big win. That's more all I can say about it, Will. That's my take on the game. I loved it. Loved every second of it. Loved the win.
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree more. There's a lot of information in that take, and in the Lions, you know, they when it was their time to call up the action, they did it. You know, they played with extreme amount of grit and didn't give up. You know, those are the games that the Detroit Lions lose. And before I go any further, can you guys let us know if you can hear us? Because we're having a lot of audio problems, echo problems. Not sure what is going on. Let me know if it sounds better right now. I'm wondering if this microphone got turned upside down in the travel, and if that's what's happening, just let us know. So, you know, like I said, those are the games that the Lions normally lose, and they found a way to win. So from a coaching perspective, you know, from a perspective where the Lions are finally getting to a place where they're able to eke out wins, you know, late in the game, that's what this coaching staff has been able to put together over the last 3 seasons. They're continually getting better. They're putting a better product on the field, and now they're not, you know, stealing a loss from the jaws of victory, right? Yeah, they're stealing a victory, you know, by playing hard and by putting the right, you know, right momentum on the field, if you will, to use a quote from Tom Greco last weekend. The momentum is there, and it's going to continue into tomorrow. First, I'd like to jump into some things about the Seahawks. And last week, and again, please drop it in the chat. If you guys are having trouble hearing us, we'll make adjustments as needed, and we'll get it fixed, hopefully. I'll do my best. So Seahawks last week, you know, they got their asses handed to them by the Rams. They lost their season opener in a very embarrassing fashion. And that's what everyone was expecting of the Lions to do in Kansas City, lose in a very embarrassing fashion, and it didn't happen. They embarrassed the, you know, Kansas City Chiefs on their home field. They're in a banner drop, and those are the types of wins, those statement wins, they're going to carry them through this season. Sorry. No, you're good. So, you know, the Rams were 100% outplayed. Or I'm sorry, the Seahawks were 100% outplayed in every phase of the game. The Seahawks only finished with 171 total yards last week, including 3 total yards in the second half. I couldn't even imagine, you know, being on the field as a player, going 2 full quarters, 30 minutes of football, and putting up 3 positive yards, you know, of gain. It's deflating. But it showed us something, right? As a, you know, a fan of football, it showed us something. Mm-hmm. And it showed us what, you know, our Detroit Lions are potentially going to be able to do to the Seahawks team tomorrow. The Seahawks had a very anemic passing game. You know, they mustered barely 100 yards for the entire game of passing. But my overall take is this, and I'd like to know if you agree here. The Hawks looked ill-prepared. They looked apathetic. They looked sloppy. They looked outplayed and flat out hustled. Is that, you know, the same sentiment that you took from the game?
Yeah, no, that was one of the most, for lack of better words, very pathetic showing by a team that really should have been an easy win for Seattle, because the Rams are truly a much inferior team. I was just really surprised how sloppy and just stale and flat and lifeless that Seattle looked. So that should hopefully bear good for us. But the Rams had no reason winning that game, and Seattle had no business losing it.
Well, I can tell you this, though. I mean, Stafford did come out and play a hell of a game. He was threading the needle. One of the best games that I've seen him play in quite a long time.
I'm really thinking that this microphone's backwards, so it's got to be the right way now. All right. So to get into some of the review of last week, DK Metcalf led the Seahawks in receiving yards. Yeah, he had, their only touchdown, good for him, but he still didn't do enough to make a difference. And being an elite receiver, with the other elite receivers on this team, he didn't do enough to either get separation, or make the plays when needed. And when he was lined up one-on-one often on the outside, he allowed himself to get mixed up into coverage, which reduced his ability to be effective. So just remember that. Put that little feather in your cap there, because I think that's what we're going to see tomorrow. Metcalf is in trouble, big trouble. You don't call out C.J. Gardner-Johnson publicly after you get your ass handed to you by the Rams, and now you're coming into the den at Ford Field, and you're expecting a different version of yourself from the previous week. Good luck coming into this secondary and this defensive line with that attitude, because I have a feeling he's going to get shut down tomorrow. There were a few players, though, for the Seahawks that, I felt did deserve a little bit of praise, and they are some players that we're going to have to watch out for tomorrow. Per Pro Football Focus, defensive edge rusher, and I'm going to butcher his name, Ukana Nwasu, had the best grade, but he still kind of stunk in the pass rush, and that's exactly where Seattle really needs him to be good. So if you're not able to produce at a high level at the position that you're brought in for, John Fleming, big echo. We don't know what is going on with
I just muted mine. I guess I didn't have it muted, dude. Sorry.
Is the echo still there?
My fault.
Did it unmute itself again? Because on my side, you're showing muted now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to keep rolling here. And I apologize. I don't know how to fix it. All right, we're good now. So that was the issue. You failed, buddy. You should have stayed on the plane, man.
Come on. Hey, Jonathan, thank you. Sorry. I'm the keep going, Will. Keep going.
All right. So there were a few players that did deserve some praise from the Seahawks. And like I was alluding to, Nwasu, he's supposed to be an elite pass rusher, right? And he still stunk as a pass rusher. He made a few tackles, made a few plays, but he was not getting pressure on Stafford. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, he graded out well, but he was terrible in coverage last week. Put that feather in your cap, because that's another thing to look out for tomorrow. And we'll get into why here in just a minute. But his lack of coverage skills were very evident.
Yes.
Right? I mean, yes. He was missing play after play, and Stafford was able to pick apart the center of that defense all day long. Tight end Will Dissly, he had the best grade, but he only played 16 snaps. And I didn't understand that. You've got your best tight end out there making plays, being consistent, and yet you have the backup tight end, Colby Parkinson, playing more snaps, who was largely ineffective the entire game. And then that brings me to Kenneth Walker. He was the lone bright spot for the Seahawks. Now, he only ran the ball 3 times in the second half. So, the Seahawks shitting the bed in the second half shouldn't be blamed on him. But overall, he had 12 carries for 64 yards with an average of 5.3 yards a carry. That's exceptional football, right? I mean, that's what you're looking for out of an elite running back. So Walker only had 4 catches, though. Even though that led the team, he only had 3 yards. So where are we going with this? The Seahawks looked terrible last week, and I doubt that they cleaned up much during the week, because they got worse throughout the week. And we're going to go into why right about now, but let's jump into the chat and see what we got going on here. Let me walk back. So Michael Luchis, I apologize if I butchered your name. His question is, how concerned are you about the offensive line? Are you speaking Detroit or Seattle? Because I'll tell you right now, Seattle's offensive line is decimated, and we're going to walk into the injuries right now and explain why. And then we're going to get into the Lions' offensive line too. So if you stick around for just a minute, we're going to walk through it all. But to answer your question, a little bit concerned about the Lions, a lot concerned about the Seattle Seahawks, but that's okay because this Lions defensive line should be eaten tomorrow.
No, I think the Lions are going to absolutely – the Seahawks are going to be sport for them tomorrow.
100%. So Seattle lost both of its starting offensive tackles to injuries in the third quarter of last week's game. Right tackle Abram Lucas and left tackle Charles Cross. They left with injuries, like I said, in the third quarter. And then wide receiver Tyler Lockett, who was evaluated for a concussion, was later cleared and he passed all the protocols. So he should suit up tomorrow. Throughout the week, obviously they went through, a lot of different testing to figure out, what was going on with these guys. Lucas was just a knee injury at first. Cross was a sprained toe. And like I said, Lockett was a concussion, but cleared. Through the week, Lucas was placed on injured reserve. So that's tackle number one, gone. And that was as of the 13th. Cross was listed as out as of this afternoon, today being Saturday. Linebacker Boye Mafi has a knee injury, and he's listed as questionable, but he also didn't practice yesterday. Mm-hmm. And that's usually an indicator. If you don't practice on Friday, I mean, if you're resting them, that's one thing. But if you're not practicing on Friday, you're not playing on Sunday.
Not happening.
So defensive end Mike Morris' shoulder has been listed as out. And then Devin Witherspoon is a big key here. So Devin Witherspoon is going to be making his first start tomorrow. Who knows how much playing time he's going to get? He's been nursing a hamstring issue since August 7th in training camp. He's been back, I believe, as of Wednesday this week, and was a full participant for the first time on Wednesday. So his questionable designation, I believe, has been removed from the injury list. Barring any setbacks, Witherspoon is expected to suit up. And quite honestly, I think that the Lions are going to attack him. It's somebody that's going to be under the bright lights for the first time in the loudest stadium. It's probably going to be on record this season. I have a feeling the Lions stadium is going to break some records tomorrow with noise.
I'm excited.
I expect he's going to get tested, and if he can't hang, he might get picked apart, or Pete might have to pull him. We'll see what happens. Jamal Adams still hasn't played it down for the Seahawks, and he's going to continue that trend. He's not going to be able to get the start tomorrow. He still hasn't come back after a year of battling a quadricep injury. So to wrap it up, the Hawks are down both offensive tackles. They're down their number one safety, their number one pass rusher. Devin Bush also suffered an injury at practice on Thursday or Friday, and he's listed as questionable. So the Hawks are already without, they already have a pathetic pass rush, right? Yeah. They're already without some key players. And with defensive end Morris out, linebacker Mafi banged up, the Hawks shouldn't be able to keep up with this Lions offense. No. Both starting tackles out should result in the Lions defensive front being able to eat all game long. What are your thoughts on all of that information, Andy?
Honestly, if I had my thoughts, Will, I'd be repeating everything you just said. But my thoughts are that team was already in shambles, and with all these key pieces of the defense and the offense all the way around going to be out, this should be surgical tomorrow is what it's going to be.
I like that. I like that.
Surgical game for Detroit. I kind of like the Rams had no business losing. I hate to even say this, but Detroit's got no business playing terrible or losing the game tomorrow. Seattle's they're gonna leave that game hurting tomorrow.
So Michael Lucchese, I apologize again if I'm butchering your name, but he put the comment in that Detroit is without Decker. Yep, absolutely. Let me go through the Lions injury report real quick. The Lions are not entering this game fully healthy, as we were alluding to, but their depth is much better than the Seahawks at this point. But with respect to the offensive line, it gets a little interesting for me. Defensive end Josh Paschal and cornerback Khalil Dorsey are out, and both of them have actually been placed on injured reserve as of today. A bit unexpected for Khalil Dorsey and Josh Paschal. Dan Campbell at the press conference yesterday said he did not expect this whole issue with Paschal to be season ending, but they're looking at a minimum of 4 weeks right now. As expected, Emmanuel Mosley is out as he continues to rehab. from his injury from last season. And on the offensive side, as Michael Lucchese has alluded to, Taylor Decker is listed as doubtful, and it sounds like he's going to be out for the game with his ankle injury. Here's my statements. The Lions are thin on offensive line. I'm not sure why they only kept 8 offensive linemen on the initial 53. This is the first season in many seasons that they haven't kept at least 9, but usually 10. I'm not convinced with the depth. But Glasgow can step in at right tackle and Sewell can flip to left.
Yes.
That's Sewell's natural position was left tackle. Okay. So I'm confident in that. I'm confident in Glasgow being able to step in at right guard or right tackle, and Vaitai might have to flip to right tackle. But either way, I'm comfortable with our top 6 players, right? Which Glasgow is the 6th player. I'm just not confident after that. Nelson is a sieve. The guy lets up too much pressure, and it to me, I don't even know how he made the roster. But anything below Nelson is really sketchy. And I really thought that Brad Holmes was going to go out and spend some money, after cuts happened, and pick up, somebody that they could put on this offensive line to really be an anchor. Looks like Michael Lucchese has the same type of comment here. He doesn't like our depth at O-line. I know that meaning the Seahawks, is depleted, which is comforting. Yeah, I'm ecstatic about what this defensive front is going to be able to do for the Detroit Lions. Jonathan Fleming wrote in and said the Decker being out really worries me. He doesn't miss games unless it's bad. But moving Penei over to left tackle and having Glasgow cover right guard is a very nice alternative. Same sentiment here, Jonathan. I think we're in agreement, and we won't know, obviously what's going to happen until tomorrow. Dan Campbell did say, I don't know if it was yesterday, that they're going to be trying multiple fronts. Yeah. And if you remember, well, even last season, the Lions, I think, went through 10 or 11 different offensive fronts on the for the line.
They did.
And the season before that, it was kind of the same thing. A lot of injuries, a lot of depth issues. And so they're used to this, right? They're used to this offensive line, shuffle. Yeah. I guess that's a good way to put it. So the other, statement that I had about our injuries is Pascal. He's becoming an issue. He kind of reminds me of the guy that he replaced, which was Austin Bryant. If you remember, Austin Bryant was a phenomenal talent. I think he came out of Alabama, if memory serves me correct. And the guy just couldn't make his way onto the field and stay there and either A, be productive, or B, stay healthy. Or it was a combination of both. And Pascal is now entering that phase of his career where he's got to be on the field. You can't go into your 3rd season, which I think his 3rd season's next year, and still continuing this trend of getting injured every time you step on the field.
Right.
So I'm ecstatic that the Lions kept 12 defensive players for the defensive front because we do have a lot of depth there. I'm just not convinced that Pascal is going to be a long-term option, and I hope he proves me wrong. But, when you have a knack for getting injured like this, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So it doesn't really ever get better.
And there's a lot of players that have been in this league that are like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just real quick, remember we had Reggie Bush?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Reggie Bush, I got to the point where I'm like, a stiff little gust of wind blows him over and he gets hurt and he's out for 6 games.
He was old too. I mean, old by football standards, right? Because I'm old, but he was old by football standards.
Yeah.
All right. So let me get to another one here. John Fleming said, Geno Smith is returning to his journeyman backup days. I'm calling he throws at least 3 interceptions. Oh, man. I would love to see that tomorrow. Yeah, that's a great call. And I'm going to do my calls at the end. I did pretty well in the first game. I went about 75% on my picks.
Yep.
And got pretty close to even some of the yardage and stats that I put out there. So we'll do it again, hopefully. Hopefully this time I'm a little bit more accurate. So what does this all mean, right? What do the injuries mean for tomorrow? How are, the Seahawks and or the Lions defense and offense going to be able to maneuver through this? What's going to change? What's going to be different from week 1? And I think we'll start with the Seahawks defense. First and foremost, the Seahawks switched from a 4-3 hybrid to a 3-4 last year. And that's a very important statement. You might ask why. Why does that even matter? Well, here are the reasons that I compiled today to explain why it matters. Number 1, they changed defensive coordinators in 2020 or in 2022. They are still learning and installing the defense, right? It's a big undertaking. It doesn't happen in one season. And going from 3 down to 4 down is a totally different defense. And without changing your entire defensive players that played in a 4-3, you're relying upon having to learn and learn quickly.
Exactly.
And you just don't. It's like an offense. You're not going to learn it quickly. The Lions know this all too well, right? How long does it take to get a defense dialed in, or at least be competent at the outset of the change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look at what happened last week, and look what's happened during the preseason this season, right? The Lions are now entering their second season, if you will, in this defensive strategy with Aaron Glenn, and things are finally starting to take shape. So it's going to take a couple of seasons for the Seahawks to get it underneath, under their belts, so to speak, and to learn it and grasp it and be able to play fast and loose.
Yep.
But they're just not there yet. It takes great ball players, a well-playing scheme, patience, and great teachers to really bend that learning curve and finally put a good product on the field. And we're starting to see that from the Lions right now.
We are.
And we only saw one game up, against the Super Bowl champions, where our defense really played a pretty phenomenal game when you consider all of the factors. Now they're coming home to their home turf. I'm expecting that level of play to bounce up a couple of notches and see a much better product on the field. It just takes time, right? If all else was true, you got the players, you got the coaches, you got the teachers, you've got the health, you've got the roster. It's going to take time. And it's going to take time to learn and grow together as a defensive front so that they can rely on each other and trust in each other. Again, they're just not there. Most importantly, the Hawks are in a position of change. And for me, this creates an opportunity for a hyped up Lions team to come in, off their biggest win out of the last 3 seasons, in my opinion. I think that the Packers game last season was probably their first biggest win under Dan Campbell's liege.
Absolutely.
In this game last week, I think eclipses that win. Nothing beats a divisional rival win, but to beat the Super Bowl champ, I don't think anything beats that.
No,
in my opinion.
Because you got to figure, and you and I have made this point so many times, and a lot of it's because we enjoy, the memory. We sent Aaron Rodgers out packing with a loss, the NFC North, and then you follow that up with the opening game of the season on national television, getting rid of the Super Bowl champs. I mean, can't really ask for a better way to end and start the season. I mean, very exciting.
So Jonathan says they put an asterisk on the game because they didn't have Kelsey. And guess who else didn't have Kelsey? Yeah, the Lions didn't.
We didn't have him.
Hey, we were banged up and had some things going. I mean, we came into the game really healthy, but we didn't have, everybody either. We didn't have Mosley, even though he may or may not have been needed. I don't agree with the asterisk. And the pundits that are out there saying that don't deserve their job. You show up to play the game the way the game's going to be played that day. It doesn't matter who's on the roster. That's why you build a roster so you can win games with anybody on the roster. It is what it is. The Lions outplayed them. It was a tight game. If Kelsey was in, who knows if it would have been different? Nobody knows.
We still would have won the game. I stand by that.
You never know.
And one more thing before I let Will move on here. I'll never forget they give us an asterisk for a win because they didn't have 2 top players. But you know what would have happened if we would have lost?
Right. They would have celebrated.
Same old Lions.
Right.
They would have saying it. So us Lions fans, we can't win.
No.
We stick with them.
That's right. So the Rams finished with the second best pass blocking grade versus the Hawks in week 1. Let me say that again. The Rams finished with the second best pass blocking grade versus the Hawks. To me, that means that this Lions offensive line, as cohesive as it is, their depth to the first 6 players, and with the tight ends that we have, Laporte has been an excellent blocker so far. This unit is going to be able to keep Goff clean, in my opinion, tomorrow. And I think that Goff's going to be able to pick apart this defense, this Hawks defense, all game long. Whether Decker's in or out, I think that they'll be fine. I don't think it's going to be easy at times. I think that, there could be a little bit of pressure. It just depends on how, who is in.
Absolutely.
It depends what part of the game and, what the strategy is. But I think that there's some opportunity there too. I think there's a lot of opportunity for this Lions team, to do some things differently that we didn't see last week, that we did see in some of the preseason, practices and at training camp.
Right.
We saw a lot of plays that Gibbs was being utilized on that we have not seen yet in a game.
Exactly.
I think that Gibbs is going to probably get the ball a little bit more tomorrow, and that would be the hope that maybe they were saving a little bit for this game. They pre-plan these games a little bit. They look at things weeks out. I know they say it's the next game, it's next week, it's the next one, but you better believe that this Lions coaching staff has been planning what they're going to do for the first 3, 4, 5 games, because once you suffer injuries, it all changes. Couple key stats. Los Angeles Rams last week had 27 first downs, 426 total yards, almost 40 minutes of possession time. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of yards. That's a lot of first downs. The Rams also handed Seattle its worst home loss since Los Angeles beat the Hawks 42-7 in 2017. So here's the question for the night. Who was the quarterback in 2017 for the Rams? I think you guys already know the answer.
You should all know the answer.
It was Jared Goff.
Yep.
So if that tells you anything, Goff's got their number. Yeah, we suffered a loss last season, but it was a 3-point loss, and it was a defensive loss. It wasn't a Goff-led loss.
Because that was when our defense was still hurting real bad. Hey, I put a comment up there I wanted you to read, Will.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to respond to this comment up here about the MSU losing 41-0. I'm not surprised. My Spartans are going through a rough time right now, but it is what it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing it because of the whole Tuck thing, but I'm here for a Lions show.
Yeah, that's another story for another day. So.
Yeah, don't let me get started. All right, so we'll keep it rolling here on the Lions. Rams running back. Let's talk about them and the Rams wide receivers and why, what they did, what the Lions can do,
right,
and how they can be effective, right? So last week, the Hawks let up 3 rushing touchdowns in the red zone, 2 from the 1-yard line and 1 from the 7-yard line. I'm going to throw this out there. Jamal Williams had a lot of touchdowns from the 1-yard line, the 5-yard line, the 3-yard line. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? I mean, It doesn't matter where you score. You still got to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
So what it tells me, though, is this. It tells me that the Hawks, they didn't let up a ton of rushing yards. They kept the Rams under 100 yards against the 13th ranked offensive line for the Rams. So that was their grade from last week. The Lions' offensive line is much better. But this shows me that the Hawks had issues defending deep in the red zone. And that is where the Lions should be able to do their best work because they have such shifty, elusive running backs and the ability to, utilize Porta, Wright, or St. Brown in a lot of crossing patterns and misdirection in the red zone, that they're going to be effective. The Hawks really had a much bigger test coming into this game versus the Lions. And they're ranked, the Lions' 3rd ranked offensive line, and the 2 dynamic running backs that we have with Montgomery and Gibbs.
Right.
So as I stated though earlier, the Lions are thin at O-line. I think that they're a little bit banged up, and especially with Decker out, or potentially out. I can't remember if he's out yet or not.
I think I read that he is. He's listed as supposed to be out, but
so if Decker's out, then he's out. But I still expect this O-line to produce at a high level, and unless they lose another lineman during the game, there's no reason why the Lions shouldn't be able to put up some good yards on the ground. The Rams wide receivers, I just can't believe what they were able to do last week.
Yeah.
The Hawks TBs let up 10 catches for 119 yards to a rookie receiver, Puka Nacua, and he was targeted 15 times in the first game of his career. Tutu Atwell had a career-high 119 yards as well on 6 catches. The Rams, were at their best on 3rd downs, and they converted 11 of 17 chances, leading, to longer drives and a huge advantage in the time of possession. We know that this Lions offense, are very talented. The wide receiver core is very experienced, and a cohesive wide receiver core. If the Rams can post up the Hawks with rookie receivers getting 119 yards, the Lions should be able to attack and decimate this Hawks defense too.
Oh, absolutely.
I just can't think of where a rookie's going to outplay St. Brown in the same defense.
Not happening.
I just don't see that happening either.
There's no way.
I see Marvin Jones being able to bounce back. The guy doesn't drop balls. He doesn't fumble. He had a crap game. He's going to bounce back. And he's back at home where he's played before. I expect Marvin to produce tomorrow. I just don't know that I see this game going to an air raid style of offense like it was last year.
No.
I'm kind of thinking that it's going to be more of a balanced attack. And being more of a balanced attack, that's where I see Gibbs having a bigger day.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let me check the chat here. No more MSU talk. That's good. So the Seahawks linebackers versus the Lions intermediate pass and run game. I think that's where we have a big advantage tomorrow.
Yes.
A huge part of Seattle's ability to stop the run last week Sunday was because of Bobby Wagner. And, he was flying around. The guy was making a lot of plays. He racked up 19 tackles. Look for Wagner and, his compadre there, Jordan Brooks, the duo, to be active, against the Lions run game. But I do expect the Lions to use a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, bringing in extra tight ends, in this game to get the running game going and utilize that play action pass.
Yes.
To be able to offer a lot of misdirection and a lot of chaos at the line, using big formations as extra linemen that tight end can be, and running some elite tight end routes. When you create motion chaos at the line, it is hard for a linebacker to stay in coverage against an elite receiver like St. Brown in the slot, like a Gibbs coming out of the backfield, or even our new guy, Laporta. He showed some ability last week.
Yes, he did.
And he worked across the middle of the field.
He played a great game last week.
So I'm expecting him to be able to take Wagner on. I know that sounds a little too big to be true. I mean, Bobby Wagner is one of the best in the game, but his coverage ability was terrible last week.
It was god-awful.
He struggled, and I do expect Laporta hopefully to expose this. With Laporta, Gibbs, and Brown all, able to make plays, in the slot, near the line, behind the line, even using screens and bunch formations. I think that they should have a lot of options in this game and over the middle, with the intermediate routes.
Right.
And crossing routes to have some success, especially in the red zone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, are the Lions, going to be able to run any combinations? Uh-oh. What's going on here?
Don't know. Lost video on you. Once again, we apologize, everyone. We have been having some issues today.
That one's just an odd one.
Yeah. Now it's just me. That's okay. They just need to see me anyway, dude.
Well, I mean, you're still on too, so
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. We don't know what happened. I mean, all I see is the Elgato one is now off. And that's not good.
No.
And this is not coming back either. All right. All right, we're back.
There we go.
Weird. Anything else want to happen?
No,
You're-
please don't say that.
You're driving tomorrow. Okay. All right. Sorry about that,
Maybe I
everyone.
should.
All right. So where was I? I was talking about the wide receivers, I assume.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, look, our receivers are very talented. Our running backs are very talented. And, with the injuries that the Seahawks defense has already suffered, right? If we go back to the injuries, one, Bobby Wagner had a piss poor game.
Yeah.
And when you look at the injuries to the Seahawks defense, we're looking at Jamal Adams, he still isn't playing. You're looking at defensive end Mike Morris, he's out. Linebacker Boye Mafe, he's banged up. Devin Witherspoon getting his first, chance tomorrow. And the offensive side of the ball for the Seahawks being down their starting right tackles, it's lining up to be an opportunity for everybody on this Detroit Lions team to have a big day. And if they have a big day tomorrow, Ford Field's roof is going to completely blow off.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So, again, Wagner struggled in coverage versus the Rams. I expect Laporta to take advantage of this. I do expect the Lions to be able to run, any combination of run calls, for big gains out of the shotgun tomorrow. Yes. And, that's something that we haven't seen from Goff in last season is a lot of shotgun formations. And we started to see it versus KC. And if they're able to utilize a shotgun and run play action,
right,
and run the occasional, misdirection play or even a dive or a draw, once you get those linebackers stepping up or moving laterally, that's where Goff is good.
Yes.
He's able to check down and find, who's open right away. Khalif Raymond gets separation. He is one of the best across the middle.
Yeah, he is.
So I expect Khalif to have a good game tomorrow. I mean, it sounds like everyone's going to have a good game, and I really expect them, to have a good game. Seahawks DBs versus our wide receivers. This is where it's going to get interesting. I think our wide receivers can eat. I just don't see them going air raid tomorrow because they're going to want to control the time of possession.
Yes.
I think that Dan Campbell is getting smarter now. We saw it versus KC. It's run the ball, chew the clock, keep the other offense off the field, and win the game. It doesn't matter if you win 3-0, 7-0, 21-0. You just want to win.
Just win the game.
Just win the game.
That's it.
And I feel like now he's stepping up his coaching ability by employing some of these tactics that, stick with what's working.
Exactly.
Don't go back to something because you're stuck in your game plan.
Right.
If something's starting to work, you're noticing now that Campbell's starting to stick with it and turn it into an opportunity for the Lions to win the game.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And
and we've seen it in years past where, they start to run and it's not going anywhere.
No.
And it was primarily with Stafford, but the pass was working. And then all of a sudden they go back to the run. It's not working. And then they never go back to the pass that was working. Or when you get into a rut and you're calling, run play after run play that's not working, the defense knows you're going to pass.
Exactly.
So, just stick with what's working. The ebb and the flows of this game are constant. And the Lions just need to stay consistent. So Trey Brown, he got the start over Michael Jackson last week at the cornerback one position for the Hawks. Neither player was very good against the Rams. Jackson was the 13th best or the 8th worst graded defender for Seattle per PFF. And Brown was targeted 4 times in coverage, and in 3 of the passes that were completed were for 72 yards. That's 24 yards a completion average, right? With a long of 44 yards. That's really bad.
Yeah, that's
really bad. So I'm expecting Jackson, hold on, let me back up. I'm expecting when Goff recognizes what's going on back there in the DBs, he's going to be able to identify it and direct this wide receiver core to, do X, Y, and Z to get open because clearly there's a breakdown.
Yes.
Jackson, the other half back there, he only allowed 1 completion, but of course it was the only time that he was targeted.
Exactly.
And that was for 21 snaps or whatever that he played versus Brown's 61.
Right.
And Brown allowed 21 yards after the catch. So, come on. If the Lions can't come in here and completely dominate, I would be surprised.
I'd be sad.
So you're combining this ineffective pass rush that they had against the Rams with a mistake-prone secondary, and the Hawks really failed to get any pressure at all or stay sticky in coverage.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting this Lions offense should dine all day if they choose to, and they don't just smash mouth, run the ball, and win the game.
Yeah.
I think the Hawks, they like to get into a dime coverage at times, and on short yardage downs, it hurt them. With only 3 down linemen, one linebacker, 6 DBs, they were kind of showing a light box.
Yeah.
They were naturally out-leveraged the entire game, and defending against the run was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So whomever's getting the bulk of the carries tomorrow, whether it's Montgomery or Gibbs, if we see a dime come out and it's second down, expect them to have a big gain.
Yeah.
And if it's not a big gain on the ground, expect Gibbs to, catch a pass, out of the backfield.
Yes.
Something, for a nice big gain. There's just too much room right there when you're in a light box setup.
Yes.
There's just too much area for them to get loose, and Gibbs is elusive as they come. So
those couple runs he had last week showed it.
The other thing that I noticed with the Hawks is, they set in a zone coverage quite a bit, and beating the zone coverage is difficult at times.
It can be,
but it does require more of timing, a little bit of misdirection and confusion, and oftentimes you'll see teams like Kansas City that they will run the tray or the bunch 3-by-1 formation, and they do a lot of misdirection and chaos routes, right?
Right.
A lot of crossing, a lot of action going on right away.
Yep.
And that creates, chaos at the line, and then it gives Patrick Mahomes time to pick apart the defense on a quick strike, right? I expect the Lions to be able to utilize some of that tomorrow. We don't see a lot of 3-by-1 formations in this offense, but I wouldn't put it past Ben Johnson not to use some of these bunch plays.
No.
And and they would be wise to run a lot of routes out of the backfield, given the fact that Wagner's terrible in coverage right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's aging, so
the game's gone past him. He's not as young as he used to be.
he's still great in the run.
Yeah.
He's still a great leader, but he's not going to be able to hang with a 4-4, Gibbs, or even a 4-5, Laporta. He's just not going to be able to hang with him.
Not at all.
So how are we going to beat the Hawks defense? That's the big question of the day. For instance, the Rams last week. First drive, 16 plays, 75 yards, right?
Yep.
They milked 9 minutes off the clock. That's how you beat the Hawks.
You do.
That's the game right there.
Yep.
Game plan is set. You run the ball, you chew the clock, you get as many little chunks as you can that create first downs. I mean, like I said earlier, 27 first downs. That doesn't happen by accident.
No.
There's clearly something open.
Something's not right.
So the math is simple, right? You win on third down conversions. You pound the rock. You keep the Hawks offense off the field.
Yep.
It doesn't get any much better than that. The 3-4 defense is very vulnerable to the run. One way to attack this defense is run the ball, straight at it. The 3-4 defense can be weak against the run if it doesn't have a dominant nose tackle. I don't see where the Hawks have a dominant nose tackle.
They don't.
Do you? I mean,
they don't. They go right up the gut with this one.
So the 3-4 defense can also be very vulnerable in passing situations, right? If it doesn't, if that defense doesn't have good linebackers that can cover, the backs and the tight ends and bring pressure at the same time, well, someone's going to be open.
Yes.
So it's almost like dealer's choice right there. Who are you going to pick, Laporta or Gibbs?
Yep.
I mean, either one, go for it. So the 3-4 defense can also reveal holes in zone and or man coverage, particularly in the flats and over the middle, which is what I've been saying all night. These intermediate routes, these over the middle routes that are going to be wide open tomorrow. That's my prediction. Is there going to be a lot of passes over the middle?
Yep. And
in the flats tomorrow, they're going to go for big chunks. That's my prediction for the game. Quite honestly, the slant arrow, hitch seam, double smash, 4 verticals even tomorrow is going to be an option when they run in 4 straight.
Yep.
Quick passing game tomorrow. I expect it to work well. So now we're getting to the other prediction component to this. But before I go on anymore, what's your overall thoughts on the game tomorrow, Andy? Who are you looking to come out and have a good game. What do you want to see tomorrow? Let's put it that way.
Well, I want to really see this offensive line.
Andy's first game in Motown, in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, my first ever time, and also seeing the Lions in person on top of being able to see them at Ford Field. Very exciting. So just speaking from a fan standpoint, I'm looking to go and, have a great time. So Will and I will be there. It'll be a great time, great fun. But from the football angle of it, I'm looking for this offensive line to clean up a little bit. As I said earlier in my little quick overview of Kansas City's and Detroit's game, the offensive line was allowing a little bit too much pressure on Goff. I thought there were some missed assignments that happened. I'm pretty confident Campbell's going to have all that cleaned up. Everything will be fine on that. Defense, I'm not worried about. I think the defense is just going to keep stepping up and playing hard like they had against Kansas City. They'll be able to bring pressure, no problem, against Seattle's offense and against Geno Smith. Because, as Will said, when we talked about injuries, that team's depleted. That team's got a lot of banged-up bodies. So, key players I'm looking forward to see, though, honestly, I'm really looking and hoping to see more Jameer. Jameer Gibbs did have those couple real good runs, Will. He's really elusive the way he spins and gets out. But I didn't see him. I was really kind of bummed out. I didn't see as much of him as I was hoping we would.
Yeah, he was limited last week. And like I said, I'm wondering if they did that, with the intent that they're going to open him up as the weeks progress.
And you're very well. I mean, we have seen that before. So I'm really looking to see Gibbs a lot more. I'm hoping to see Laporta get a lot more action. Goff, I think he did have a great game last week, but I think he's going to have a spectacular game tomorrow. Will's going to do his picks first. I will give mine and what I think afterwards. But just overall, I think I'm just looking for the defense to keep stepping up and playing good. I'm really hoping to see that offensive line be a little cleaned up with some of the mistakes from last week. Overall, I'm just looking forward to a great game and a great game at Ford Field. It's going to be amazing, absolutely amazing.
Andy's going to be a little surprised, I think, at how electric it's going to be at Ford Field. Not only on the streets, but the tailgates. Inside the den at Ford Field it's an incredible arena. It's an incredible venue, and I know they talk about Arrowhead being one of the most iconic or the most iconic in all of the NFL, and it is because it's an outdoor stadium. Mm-hmm. The Lions Stadium is a little over 20 years old now, and when it came out, when they built it, it was the best on the block, so to speak. It was the best stadium that there was for a dome at that time. And I'm sure there's going to be more upgrades or maybe another new stadium in 20 years. But
who knows?
Ford Field is a special place. There's not a bad seat in the house. So here's my predictions for tomorrow. I did pretty well last week, but I'm taking a gamble on this one this week. So I'm expecting that Jameer Gibbs has a career day tomorrow. That's not saying much because it's his second game in the NFL. Just about any game right now could be a career game for him. But I think he's going to do well both in the passing game and the rushing game. I think that he should be used quite a bit in both. Out of the backfield. And it may be, like I said earlier, why the Lions limited him in the first game against the Chiefs, just trying to ease them in, not tipping their hat as much as to what Gibbs can do and saving it versus, some of the other defenses out there that they're going to have to utilize his specialties. So Gibbs, I have getting 4 receptions for 52 yards in the TD. Mm-hmm. And I have him rushing 99 yards into TD. The reason why I didn't say 100 is because I don't want to jinx the dude. So that's why I'm going with 99. But he might be able to break 99, and I will leave it at that. Monty Python. I think he's going to have a little bit slower day, but I think it's still a really decent day.
Yeah.
He wasn't used at all last week in the passing game, but I think he's going to catch one for 8 yards. I think he's still going to put 63 yards on the ground for a TD. Mm-hmm. So combined, you're looking at about 150, plus yards on the ground.
Yeah.
And I could say, I should say, I think it can happen. Granted, the Rams didn't do it last week. Mm-hmm. They passed a lot. Mm-hmm. So here's where it's going to get interesting. Mon-Ra is going to go for 7 of 99 yards.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Right? I'm not saying 100. I'm not going to jinx the dude, but 7 for 99.
You're not going to like me.
I probably won't. Josh Reynolds. You might have to change your predictions.
No.
Josh Reynolds might catch 4 for 53 tomorrow. Let me back up. Mon-Ra will catch TD too. Marvin Jones, light day. I think a productive day. He's going to catch 3 for 29. Khalif Raymond, I think he'll get 2 for 27. For some reason, when Khalif gets involved in this game, he seems to get the bigger catches, right?
Oh, he does.
The longer yard. And maybe I'm completely wrong on his stats, but it seems like whenever I see Khalif getting active, he seems to get, the bigger catches at the right time. Antoine Green, if he suits up tomorrow, I haven't looked at the, pending chart or the, game day roster projection. But if he suits up tomorrow, I think Antoine Green might surprise us and catch a TD and, for 20 yards.
I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree.
Sam Laporta, I think, is going to have a big day. He's going to have 4 for 44 in a TD. It's a lot of TDs.
It is.
Brock Wright, I think he's going to get a couple of, in there. He'll get 2 for 17. But at the end of the day, I think Goff's going to chuck it 42 times, and it's everything, like I said earlier, I think it was going to be more balanced. I think it's still going to be balanced.
But
I just think that there's going to be a lot of yards on the ground and a lot of yards in the air, and it's still quasi-balanced. You're 153 on the ground to 350 through the air. It won't be exactly even. It'd be a little bit more weighted towards passing, but I just don't see it being total air raid where, they put up a lot more, yardage than that. I think that's a lot of yards. I think it'd be a hell of a game to put up over 500 yards of offense. I think it can be done.
Oh, absolutely. It can be.
So we got 4 TDs for Goff. It's going to be a phenomenal day. Lions put up 42 points tomorrow. Lions win 42-17.
You sure you want to hear what I have to say?
That's what we got. Those are my predictions. You can mail it in. They're probably wrong, so don't bet on it.
Well, let's talk about Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, the one that I'm hoping has a big day tomorrow. I got him going 50 yards of catches, 50 yards of passing, a touchdown, and I know you don't want to jinx the guy, but I'm going to say he's going to have 120 yards on the ground with a touchdown. I really think he's going to break out. Believe it or not, Will, it's crazy. Monty Python, you and I's numbers are not very far off. I have him actually down for 1 reception for 10 yards, and I have him actually at 60 yards with 1 touchdown. We're not very far off on that one.
No.
I think Monty's going to have actually another pretty decent game, but I think Gibbs is going to light it up tomorrow. Amon Ra, I've got him 8 catches for 100 yards with 2 touchdowns. I think Josh Reynolds is going to go for 4 for 40. Marvin is going to be in a comeback type of situation because he knows he had a very weak game. I think he's going to go 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Khalif Raymond, I'm going to give him 2 for 17. He'll be involved, like you said. Antoine Green, agree with you on that. He'll 1 catch for 10 yards and a touchdown. Laporta is going to have 4 catches for 40 yards for 1 touchdown. I got a lot of touchdowns there that I've made a prediction. Brock Wright's going to have 3 catches for 20 yards. Goff, 44 attempts, 30 catches, 370 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Jeez.
Lions win 49-10.
Wow.
I think the Lions are going to murder this team tomorrow.
49-10, you said?
Yes.
They can't be right. 6. I guess it could be.
It's right.
Yeah, if they miss an extra point.
If they miss the extra
goals,
pointers, yes. But
yeah.
I just went for the gusto.
All right, that's a lot. It's a lot bigger than what's probably going to happen. But you know what? It's opening day. It's a new team. It's a new Lions. It's a new tradition that's being set. We're setting it tomorrow with the ski masks. I ordered ski masks, and of course, I ordered the blue ones. And when they showed up, they're white, gray, and navy.
Navy blue.
I mean, come on. But I guess that's a product of everything sells out, and they're just shipping something to ship something. I guess
We won't be the only ones probably wearing different.
it is what it is.
Exactly.
We're still participating. So anyway, we're sorry about the way the show started tonight. It's a little bit off. It's truly off the cuff tonight because it's not as rehearsed or and not that we're always perfect in our game plan, but we try to put some good content. So this one's a little bit different. A lot different actually. So I hope you all enjoy the show. Again, tomorrow, please come and visit us. You can text us. Our number's in the bio on the YouTube, on the Facebook. Rocked On Detroit Lions and Rocked On Detroit Lions group if you're in either one of those. Otherwise, visit our page, Rocked On Detroit Lions. You can find all of our information there, emails, phone numbers, whatever. But reach out to us if you guys are tailgating and you want to do some tailgate action with turned up tailgates. Get your story, kind of out there. How long you've been a Lions fan, how long you've been tailgating, what it means to you, any family traditions. We might have some Villain Squad T-shirts to hand out.
Yep.
Andy, you want to grab that box real quick?
Yeah, let me go grab it.
So we might have a couple Villain Squad T-shirts that we're going to hand out. And if you guys, please do us the favor, visit villainsquad.store. www.villainsquad.store. Again, it was just updated. There's over 100 products in there. But we're handing out some black Detroit grits tomorrow. Okay. Nobody has these. These are our custom designs.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit Lions grit. Going out to some lucky fans tomorrow that want to interact and tell us their story. And we got one Villain Squad shirt that's going out tomorrow. So reach out to us. Come and join us at the Den Tailgates. Matter of fact, let me give you all the address real quick for the Den Tailgate so you know how to get there. Address is going to be 401 Gratiot Avenue in Detroit, Michigan, 48226. And when you show up, let Hussein Jafar know that you're with Rocked On Podcast Network and Rocked On Detroit Lions. You will have to pay to get in, but just let them know that you're coming and you're recommended, through us, through our podcast. So at least knows where you're coming from. Okay. And so come visit us. We've got our wireless microphones ready to roll.
Yep.
And we apologize about the technical difficulties tonight. It's truly an off-the-cuff episode. We appreciate everyone jumping in tonight and for the comments. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. It's going to be a big victory in Motown. Bring your masks. Bring your energy. Bring your energy.
Yes.
Let's go, Lions.
Hey, by the way, good to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too, my friend.
Absolutely.
It's Rocked On Detroit Lions. One pride, y'all. We'll see y'all
pride.
tomorrow at the game.
Yes.
Motown. Big victory.
So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. He stole the first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You brought in, you drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
We calling things out. There's a big hit right away. And boom!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser.